Battlecry of Freedom by Ngakma Nor'dzin.
Part 2, the slogans. Slogan 21, always be joyful.
Yi de wa ö-Dzin.
Riding naturally becomes joyful when the horse and rider are well trained. Rest in this joyful mind. There were many joyful riding experiences, and riding was always enjoyable, even when soaked to the skin by a sudden shower or so cold that fingers and toes were numb. One particular experience stands out as particularly joyful, and this was when I trusted Dee and trusted my riding. I was taking part in a fun ride. This included an hour of hacking and then a cross-country course. Dee loved to jump and had competed in cross-country as a young horse with a previous owner. We came to a part of the course where a stream could be jumped. The bank was high on the approach, with a low landing point on the other side of the shallow stream. It made for a long jump to clear the stream, with the necessity of jumping from high ground to low ground. I had never jumped anything like that before, and I was not keen. It was perfectly possible to go down beside the high bank and splash through the stream, and many horses and riders were taking this route. Twice I asked Dee to go beside the high bank to cross the stream, but she really wanted to jump it. I knew from experience that she was completely trustworthy. If she believed she could jump it, then she could. I took her round again and let her go for it. I held on to the pommel of the saddle and tried to relax, trusting Dee and trusting my ability to stay on. We sailed across, clearing the stream by a metre. She cantered onto the next jump with ears pricked, completely in her element. I was able to enter the dimension of her enjoyment and found the whole course a most joyful experience. None of the regular riders had seen Dee and I taking part in this sort of activity before, and were most complimentary about our capabilities. I happily assured them that it was all down to Dee. Joy naturally arises from trusting beginningless awakened mind. Joy naturally arises from letting go of self-centered protectiveness and having a more expansive view. Awakening is joyful.
Chogyam Trungpa Rinpoche says, we do not have any logic that acknowledges, understands or presents a concept like original sin. From our point of view, you are not basically condemned. Your naughtiness is not necessarily regarded as your problem, although it is witnessed, obviously. You are not fundamentally condemned. Your temporary naughtinesses are regarded as coming from temporary problems only.
The mind does not need to be unseated from riding joy when mistakes are made or difficulties occur. If there is great sadness, it arises in the moment and does not need to disturb the background potential of contentment. When sadness dissolves, then joy is present again. When it is noticed that mistakes have been made or a neurotic and harmful pattern has been indulged, this should not disturb basic happiness. Regret the mistake, certainly, but be joyful in the capacity to notice.
Judith Leaf says, according to this slogan, we should not practice the Dharma with gritted teeth, but with delight. We should appreciate our good fortune in having found a teaching that not only talks about uprooting suffering and its cause, but also shows us how to do so. We should have a little humour.
There is pain and sadness in the world. This cannot be ignored. Awareness of pain and sadness, however, does not need to be a barrier to joy. Grief, for example, is not a linear experience. There is not a period of continual sadness which ceases at a certain point and doesn't return. Moments of happiness arise within even the immediate period around the loss of a loved one. There may be relief that their suffering is over. There may be moving moments sitting with the body of the deceased and talking to them, where sadness and joy intermingle in memories and saying goodbye. Funeral gatherings can be extremely joyful occasions, with everyone sharing stories about the person who has died, remembering them happily with laughter and joy. The joy at such occasions is natural and does not deny the depth of the sadness. Over time, the immediacy of sadness recedes, but can re-arise unexpectedly and suddenly in the moment. I find certain odours and sounds particularly evoke memories of family members who have died. The jingling of coins in someone's pocket and the smell of pipe tobacco vividly remind me of my father. Sometimes I still find myself thinking, I must remember to tell Mum about that. Joy and sadness each arise, joy at the memory and sadness at the loss. Then the moment passes. There is no purpose in holding on to it. If strong emotions such as grief are clung to because of their vividness, there is the danger of adopting grief as a reference point, as an identity. Then joy cannot arise. The definition of grieving has to be allowed to naturally dissolve of its own accord as and when it will. Similarly, in the moments that sadness is suddenly, potently present, it need not be suppressed or ignored. Let it be. Embrace the experience of sadness, but let it dissolve when it will.
Shema Rinpoche says, practicing mind training, great happiness will develop in your mind. When you experience this result, you should neither be overly excited nor worry if the happiness goes away. Maintain a clear and stable mind, a state of equanimity, and gradually you will be sustained continuously by a joyful mind.
Life circumstances and the behaviour of others are not always enjoyable, but there is still always something that can be found to appreciate in any circumstance.
Monty Python sing, always look on the bright side of life. When you're chewing on life's gristle, don't grumble, give a whistle, and this'll help things turn out for the best. And always look on the bright side of life. Always look on the light side of life.
If other people are unkind or unpleasant, be joyful at the opportunity to practice patience. Be joyful at opportunities to help others. Caring about the welfare of others is important, and wishing to be of benefit to others is awakened intent. This is not a burden, however, and does not demand sombre seriousness. If people are suffering ill health or emotional pain, help offered with a joyful mind will be of the most benefit. Joining in with their misery will hinder the capacity to be able to help and will not be helpful to those suffering. The message of this slogan is simple. Awakening view and awakening intent create joy. Continue to practice and always be joyful.